Hey guys, PC Guy here, and we're going to be trying out Google Stadia today. Google has put out an announcement earlier this week that Stadia Pro is going to go free to play for the next 2 months. This means the platform itself will be free to access, you don't have to pay the subscription. However, you will, as always, have to own the games in the platform to actually play them. There are a few free games that you can play without having to buy, like a Grid, Destiny 2 for example, or a Thumper. A month or so ago I did a review video as well on GeForce Now, which is a service that's quite similar to Stadia. A few different advantages to one and disadvantages to the other, but I'll compare them at the end of the video. Anyway, you feel free to check out that video if you're interested in services like this. It has the same idea of game streaming, that you don't necessarily have to have a very powerful computer to run the games that you like to play, but I'll compare both of them side to side at the end of the video. And yeah, I'll just show you guys now how to access Stadia right now, and well, what the experience is. It's not going to be a very scientific approach measuring input lag and other sort of things. It's going to be a feel, like how does it feel to play. Is it smooth? Is it easy to access? Is it a good experience? And well, what is my advice between the two of them? For starters, head to stadia.com. You'll be presented with this page and select try now. After selecting your Google email, you'll be taken to this screen where you will be having to, well, basically confirm your settings. The last stage of setting up your account will ask if you want to start your 2-month Stadia Pro free trial. This is where you would have to hit start trial. However, keep in mind that if you intend to just do the trial and not actually keep Stadia Pro, you have to cancel your subscription afterwards, otherwise it will be charging you $9.99 a month. So after you're done with that, just head for one of the games that you want to play. For example, in this case, I'm going to be trying Destiny 2, and just hit claim. It should be free with your subscription, so yeah, it should be easy to get going. So you can see there are a couple of pop-ups, and there is one right here at the top that I cannot really seem to interact with, which is quite annoying. I had to resort to alt-tabbing to be able to click it. So after a lot of clicking on screens and accepting and creating character and all that sort of thing, we finally made it into the game. And yeah, just quick checking the settings, you can probably already see one of the disadvantages between this and GeForce Now is that you cannot really adjust any of the video settings. They are all, yeah, sure, brightness and such, but in terms of quality, resolution and all of that stuff, you are limited right now on Stadia. Now let's see how it actually responds in terms of it's a bit difficult to tell just yet because I'm still in the tutorial, but hopefully when I get the gun that I can shoot, we'll be able to kind of see how responsive it actually is. Now, after finally getting a weapon that I can fire to test, I gotta say I was expecting a lot worse. I had heard all the horror stories about Stadia at its launch, about the massive input lag and all that sort of thing, and it definitely is not as bad as I expected, not as bad as I had heard, so I dare to say that it is close to what GeForce Now is offering, if not on par. Cannot say it's better, but it's definitely not a lot worse. The thing that kind of has me kind of wondering is the video quality does not seem to be, at least when we were standing outside, I'll do a little b-roll of that, it does not seem to be quite fully rendered at full HD, unless it just happens to be a weird design choice, but I kind of doubt it. If you look, for example, at the rendition of that pillar there, it is extremely pixelated, so I kind of, as well as the pillars up there, if you look when I move, the pixelization that you see, I cannot think that this is how the game is supposed to look. It could also just be a consequence of not being able to select your graphic settings, and we could just be playing with some weird, very low quality presets in terms of shadows and the fog slash smoke that's in the air. Then again, the game does not allow you to change that, so not a whole lot you can do about it. And the loading screens were still somewhat sizable considering this is all hosted on a server which would have better capacity than most people's usual PCs, but in any case it all seems very playable. The input lag is what you would expect. It's not massively worse than what I experienced in GeForce Now, and the playing experience is fine considering what it is, considering that it saves you the trouble of actually having your own PC to play it. Quick reminder, this is all just on the browser window. If I just press F11, it's going to bring me way back to Chrome. It just runs on Chrome, so if you use some other browser, you are going to have to switch for Chrome to actually play things like this. And there is, for example, an app for phones that you can also use to play on phones if you want, as well as other things like smart TVs, etc. So that was a little bit of a trying to figure out how good it was, and well, it wasn't a lot of games compared. I only tried Destiny 2, and that is already the first point that I want to address with Stadia versus GeForce Now. And it will be a versus thing because I can't quite compare it in a vacuum, because they're two services that basically provide the same product. So yeah, we kind of have to compare them like that. The thing with Stadia, the main disadvantage really, is that you cannot really take games that you already own on other platforms and play them on Stadia. You have to buy them on Stadia, even if you already have them on Steam or whatever other Epic Game Store, Battle.net, you name it, you still have to buy them all over again on Stadia to have access to them. Obviously this raises the question, if Stadia is not a success and Google decides to pull the plug, what happens to the games that you have? If you compare it to GeForce Now, for example, that if you own the game on Steam, you are allowed to just launch it from there and done. If you own it, you can play it. That is a lot more appealing than the business model that Stadia brings. But this has been discussed to death in other Stadia videos in the past, so let's focus more on the technical part of it. The installation was quick and easy. You do have to activate the free trial to Pro to actually have access to the free games. You cannot try it out without activating it to Pro. You could have just easily given the free games temporarily for these 2 months to the people playing on the free subscription, and then you wouldn't have had to have people signing up to the Pro to get that. And you do have to remember to cancel the subscription if you are not interested in continuing with it. Like I said, I was expecting the input lag and latency to be a lot worse than it was. It really was not that bad. It was obviously worse than playing on your own local machine, but for someone that is not very picky, that does not want to actually have a local machine and spend however much you would spend getting a PC or a console, it was more than acceptable, and it was definitely a decent gaming experience. The main drawback there, like you guys saw, was the video. If you looked at some of the more well-lit areas, the video quality was a bit lacking, and the ability to change settings, video settings, like you can on GeForce Now, would be welcome. From a technical standpoint, I cannot say that one of them is massively better than the other. They both had very quick and easy installations. They both didn't really give me a lot of issues. Stadia has a controller and requires a Chromecast if you are wanting to play it on, let's say, a TV or such, while GeForce Now does not really have that. However, you can very easily use a standard controller to play on your PC, for example. In terms of monthly cost, if you want to go for the Pro in Stadia, which is the equivalent of GeForce Now's Founders Edition, let's call it, is the price. The price is somewhat different. For GeForce Now, you are going to be selling out around $5.99 or $4.99 a month, depending on the country. With Stadia, it's $9.99, so it's nearly double. It's still not a whole lot compared to the cost of actually purchasing a console or a PC. However, one is double than the other. The only difference between Founders Edition on GeForce Now and the Standard Edition, let's call it, which is actually free, is that you are not going to have priority access to the servers. However, when I tested it, it was not much of an issue, but that was before the entire lockdown thing, so it might have been a lot less busy. The other difference is that you are limited to 1 hour game sessions as opposed to 6 hours, which is quickly solved by just closing one session and opening it again. Even if there's a slight waiting queue, that shouldn't be way too bad. So yeah, my advice between the two, from a technical standpoint, I don't see a clear winner in between one or the other. NVIDIA does have the ability to actually change the graphics settings, which, as we saw on Destiny, can produce a lot better experience. I did not really test the actual frame rate of the game because it would be useless to try to monitor it with my own software, because you're just getting what is streamed, not really what's running, so Afterburner wouldn't be able to tell me. But it did get the feel that the Nvidia's option was giving me a better frame rate than Stadia was in terms of how it was being played on the server. It just seemed a little bit extra smooth. However, both of them were completely playable, so no real issues there. The real decisive point, really, and I keep coming back to this point because it's a very major one, is how it works in terms of game ownership. With GeForce Now, you don't have to rebuy games that you already own. You can just play them linked from your Steam library or Epic Game Store library. You can just keep playing it online without any extra cost or having to buy it. Everything is linked. Your saves are usually linked between the different versions of the game, and you're good to go. With Stadia, you have to rebuy games that you might already have, or if you don't, you buy them on Stadia and then you cannot play them elsewhere if you decide to then get a console or a PC. That is one of the points of Stadia, but it's such a big point. Yeah, technically, there's nothing wrong with you going with Stadia. In practice, I have a very hard time recommending it, and I would say really stick to GeForce Now. This has been EdicPC Guy. Hope I'll see you guys in the future. Remember to subscribe, drop a comment or a like to help us grow in the future. We really need some more subscribers to get bigger, get more resources, and be able to produce better videos for you guys. So yeah, click that button, and if you change your mind later on, you can always click it again to get rid of us, but in the meantime, it will help a lot. So I hope I'll see you guys in the next video, and in the meantime, have fun.